There is a pretty exciting way to track this race, so it's called Dotwatching. It's not as boring as it sounds, and I'll go over some really handy ways to do that and to make it even more fun. It turned out that she crashed on some gravel, a gravel parkour I think. Her dot then moved to a hospital. Everybody was kind of worrying. Good morning folks, welcome back to the channel and another ultra cycling related video. If you are subscribed, thanks for coming back, and if you're not, my name's Andy. I'm an ultra cyclist on the south coast of England. The videos I make are about ultra cycling, training, kit and adventures, so subscribe for more videos like this. On the cards for today, I have my last ride before the TRANSCONTINENTAL race, and can you believe it, it's next weekend. So as I'm recording this, 1 week till I'm on the start line. A week today, I'll be at the Roubaix Velodrome. When you watch this, 2 or 3 days, so wish me luck. I'm climbing right now, so a little out of breath. But basically, only doing a short ride. I have to go and pick up a mech hanger from the Mason barn. If you watch for a while, the bike I ride endurance on is a Mason definition, and I could really do with a spare mech hanger for the TCR. They're not far from me, so I'm going for a pretty chilled spin to the barn, collect the part, maybe find a really good coffee. After today, I'm having no coffee, no caffeine until the start, so that should be an interesting week. Do you know what dot watching is? Probably a fair few of you will say yes to that. But if you don't, the race I'm about to do is 4,000 kilometers long, roughly. It's not easy to spectate a race like that. But we have GPS trackers. There is a pretty exciting way to track this race, so it's called dot watching. It's not as boring as it sounds, and I'll go over some really handy ways to do that and to make it even more fun. This route I'm on right now, I've ridden it quite a few times. It's gorgeous. Kind of go behind the South Downs Ridge out towards Arundel, Amberley. Kind of similar to the route I took on the South Downs Way, except on roads. Really nice. A little bit hilly, but I want a small workout today, not a big one. So I'm going to do some climbing, but not too much. So, how do I feel? 1 week out. Well, I feel pretty nervous, very nervous, but pretty ready at the same time. I registered for this race back around October, so I've been training for it ever since then. Started training in October on the basis that I'd get a place, and I did. So I spent 3 months, 2-3 months, trying to build up my power up to Christmas time. After that, did a small block of the same, and then started to build up my volume into the season. Started doing some big rides, all points north in the lead up to get some practice. That didn't go very well. But essentially, ever since I started making these videos, I was training for this race. So I better be ready, really. Hey, that said, it's been a crazy year. New job, lots of stuff to train for, lots of studying, and I had assignments to submit at work recently. So actually I got into my route planning, maybe a little bit late, but I've made it. I finished my route yesterday, completely finished. You would not believe the work that goes into planning this route. Riding France to Turkey, challenge, yeah, but then throw in a whole bunch of banned, prohibited roads we have to guide ourselves around, banned border crossings. It is stressful. So I made roughly 5 different drafts of a 4,000k route, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got left. Training wise done, route done, all of my travel booked, accommodation on the start line booked, and we're off in 1 week. So all I have now this week, get my bike ready with some fresh bar tape, basic stuff, and then relax. So really now, I have 0 excuses. So one thing I'll say at this point, if you message me during the race anywhere and I leave you on red, or don't read the message, then don't take it to heart. My plan is to be riding like all the time I'm awake and not eating to be riding. So, and on top of that, the organisers really don't like outside support. It's obviously an unsupported race. My partner is my next of kin. She received a pack not too long ago explaining to her exactly how she can help me and the ways that she definitely can't. So really, even my other half, I need to have as little contact with as possible during the race. That said, I will be putting out updates in Instagram, so I know I keep going on about it, but it's the only place I'm going to put updates out. And if you're not following me on there, there's a link you can click below in the description, take you to my profile, follow me on Instagram, and I might leave you alone. Just riding next to a polo field, as in with horses. I remember riding past here once, and it's one of the loudest, most crazy sports I've ever witnessed in real life. From, I don't know, a mile away, you could feel the thumping through the floor. Shame there's nothing on today, really. That was quite fun. I'd say this is as good a place as anywhere to stop for a breather and talk about dot watching. So let's go through this. I'm no expert, but I know there's a lot of people that won't know what dot watching is or how you even begin to watch a 4,000k bike race. So as I go through how I dot watch, if you've got more experience than me or other ways of keeping up to date, then put some comments below. The whole purpose of me making this is to make it easier for people to watch the TCR that I'll be in, people that know me, but also just maybe it will help with spectating of other ultra bike races. So chip in with anything you think is useful. Like a lot of aspects, around ultra racing, resourcefulness is key. So on the face of it, dot watching can seem really boring, but it's not. Essentially, when we're out on our bikes, hundreds of us, riding a course that's potentially thousands of kilometers long over a whole continent, it's essential that we carry GPS trackers. So the organisers know exactly where we are, they know that we're safe, they know we're not cheating, and not straying onto any banned roads or anything like that. So that's the primary reason we carry GPS trackers. But you get use of all that data as well. So there's a couple of websites which display that information for anybody to watch. So what you'll essentially see is a map of Europe or wherever the race is being held. Usually the start and the finish will be marked out. Any checkpoints that the riders have to hit, you should see. And then depending on the nature of the race, you can keep an eye on where the riders are over days at a time. And the good thing about it, because these races last so long, in my case, the TCR, for the winners will probably be about 9 days, and for the average people, a couple of weeks. There'll be people out for 3-4 weeks. So you can dip in and out and check in on where people are. Those GPS dots are updated every minute or so, maybe quicker than that. So you can go to bed one night, get cozy in your bed, sleep for 8 hours, pick your phone up in the morning and see everybody's been riding all night and see where they got to. It's quite fascinating really in a lot of ways. That's the most basic explanation of what dot watching is. But there are ways of making it far more interesting than that. If you use the other resources available, then there's lots of information floating around by word of mouth, forums, maybe Reddit, maybe Facebook groups that people pass from person to person, and it starts to build up more of a complex picture. I'll give an example. Last year, I watched a woman doing really, really well, Maria Holdsworth. I think Holdsworth is her surname. Didn't meet her, but I raced with her at All Points North that year. She passed me in the Scottish borders. I noticed the white compression socks, flew past me, never saw her again. She did really well. And I saw that she was in the TCR last year, so I was rooting for her. When she got to Turkey, everybody started to talk about her because along a parkour, she stopped for a bit too long. So there's general chit chat about what's going on there. Eventually, you start to build a picture of what had happened there. More and more information comes to light, and it turned out that she crashed on a gravel parkour, I think. Her dot then moved to a hospital. Everybody was kind of worrying, but her partner was filling people in on what was going on, and you start to root for her, get an image of her in a hospital bed. There was talk of her, I think she chimed in at one point and said that she might try to rest, get back on her bike. She had about 100 miles to go, but sadly she didn't get back on. The injuries were too severe and she couldn't finish. So that was quite an exciting, sad, but quite an exciting part of the story. There are loads of stories like this. So if you join Facebook groups, I'll put as many links as I can below. And like I said, if you're watching this and you've got resources you use to keep a track on the race, put them below for everybody else. But I came across screenshots from people will put some information on Instagram, someone will pick up on that, copy and paste it into a group. So the more you pay attention to all of that stuff, the more you really get a feel for what's happening out on the road. On top of that, I know there are some podcasts. Lost Dot, who organised this race, do a podcast. I think maybe Dotwatcher CC might do a podcast. I'll get as much as I can and put it in the comments and put it into the description for you to use. Essentially what I'm trying to say is, looking at the maps, you do have lots of overlays. You can see the weather, you can see the wind direction, you can see the checkpoints, various different things, but there are ways to broaden it out far more. And it's really exciting to watch when you know where to look. But it'll be funny this time. Obviously I've done this before. I've had a tracker for All Points North and other longer events I've ridden, but never anything this long. So it'll be really interesting for me to be on the other end for the shoe to be on the other foot this time. Anyway, I can't really hang around here too long. I need to get home, get on with the last few bits before I get the train on Saturday, start making my way to France. I'm almost at the Mason barn now. I remember when I bought this bike, they gave me a paper map and a bike, kept my bike and sent me on my way to test it out, which is quite good of them really. Have a bike for a few hours, gravel trails. I recognise these roads, so I think I'm pretty close now, which means I'm almost to the coast, to the flat.
Decide to go for the ride. Just a fire. Just a fire.
Thank you for the input.
Well, hopefully there's no cycle paths up here, or I've just denied him a nice bike ride, but I'm pretty sure it's just a farm and the Mason barn. I forgot there's a hill leading into the barn. This is the Mason barn. I'll speak a little bit quietly. I think there's people living here as well, but they've left me my mech hanger outside, probably out riding their bikes. That's nice. And a note on there too. Good luck on the TCR. Look forward to hearing all about it. We'll keep an eye on the tracker. Cheers, James. Thank you, mate. If you watch this, I really appreciate you putting this out for me. And hopefully, I don't need it.